Hello. We started our conference this afternoon. Maybe the first is the speaker is Cristina Maestre from the Igualia Group from Spain. Whatever you want, all is for you.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me here today. Thank you for having this space to talk about equality. Okay, thank you. But as you see, I think nowadays equality is a forbidden word. Yes, you read that correctly. You heard me correctly. I said forbidden. And of course, I'm not meaning forbidden in the literal sense, but in the sense that more and more often we become afraid to use it. Gender equality, income equality, equal opportunities, equal rights. We kind of feel uncomfortable. Because you see, we've gone far when we're talking about equality, when it comes about equality. And some could even say we've come too far. We need to remember that not so long ago, women's rights were confined to the domestic sphere. The right to marry, the right to have a family, the right to have kids and to take care of them. We didn't need to think about women's labor rights because their working life ended the moment their domestic life began. So, of course, we've come a long way since that, fortunately. And right now, we could even say women have the same rights as men, right? Well, maybe not. We can't deny we have a long way still to work towards equality. And it's not like we don't believe equality is important work. Most people do recognize working towards equality is an important thing. But obviously, it's not the most important thing right now. And we know we need to keep working towards equality. We know it's important, but working on equality takes a lot of time. And we can dedicate that time right now, right? We have lots of things to do. We have sales to close, businesses to do. We have many important things to worry about, many problems to solve in the day-to-day. And since working towards equality takes time, well, if we had the time, we would do it, but we don't have the time. So we won't talk about equality today. Instead, we are going to talk about something I think most companies, most corporations think is really important. We need to make good use of our time. And that thing, the most important thing to an organization is surviving. Everybody wants to survive, right? It's logical. It's in our nature. It's probably the most primitive drive that remains in us today. We want to survive. And how does someone survive? I'm not meaning living a long, healthy life. I mean just surviving. When we think about survival, we look back to the prehistoric times when we had to hunt to feed ourselves or run from a terrifying lion. And of course, those are good examples of surviving, of individual surviving, but they are not the only one. We have a lot of examples of surviving. In fact, we have spent thousands of years, most of our history, surviving. And it's not even necessary for an obvious threat for our survival instinct to kick in. Think about Homo erectus, when they learned to control fire. It wasn't because there was some direct threat threatening their survival. But they did it. It made them survive. And it also marked a turning point, not only helping them survive, but also it positioned their species at the forefront of evolution. We are here today because we survived, and because others didn't. But it doesn't happen just to species or to individuals. In fact, biology, like I said, it's not exactly quick at providing rapid survival mechanisms. If there's one thing that helps us survive all of this time, is belonging to a society, to a civilization. And what makes a civilization survive? What allows a culture to endure? Perhaps to answer that, we need to ask ourselves, what makes a society collapse? In Europe, we love to talk about the Roman Empire. And that's probably one of the best examples of predictable extension. In particular, the Western Roman Empire collapsed because it was unable to sustain its tax systems, its military forces. They failed to integrate the Germanic people. They lost internal loyalty. In the meantime, the Eastern Roman Empire, on the other hand, survived for another 1,000 years. Why? Well, thanks to its flexibility, administrative flexibility, and religious adaptability. Think about any society that has endured to this day. Think about China, for example, and its 4,000 years of existence. Or think about Egypt, what we remember about Egypt, how its culture has changed just enough for us to still be recognizable. Or maybe don't think about China or Egypt. Think about the Maori. The Maori no longer go to war, but still the haka remains a well-known ritual, now performed as a national anthem, as a national symbol of New Zealand. Think about what sets apart the indigenous, the aboriginal cultures that still exist today from those who have disappeared. What does all have in common? Well, I'll ask you another question. Why am I speaking in English today when it's not my first language? And why do you are listening to me in English when probably for most of you it's not your first language? English was not the only language that tried to become the primary language in international contexts, but it was the most flexible. It was the easiest to adapt. And because English adapted, we use English today when we need to adapt. Now we are adapting. Everything, every being, every successful survival happened because the survival adapted. And while adaptation can make a difference between life and death for an individual, when it comes to a group, when it's a group that adapts, that can change the fate of the entire species. That's how human civilization has endured plagues, wars, climate shifts, collapses. When the rigid broke, the adapted rebuilt. Cultures has shared knowledge, has restructured power, or have reimagined belief systems. Survival became cultural engineering. Adaptation rewired the rules of selection. And suddenly, we are not just surviving, we are evolving, and we are leading the way. And what does this have to do with business? I started talking about businesses, and now I'm talking about evolution and cultures and biology. Well, think about any successful company. All those companies that have been around for decades or even centuries. What does they have in common? Apple started building personal computers. Today, its core revenue comes from mobile devices and digital services. Nintendo originally made playing cards. Over time, they evolved to be one of the most iconic companies in the video game system in history. Samsung started as a grocery trading company, and now it leads the market in the digital area. All of them shared one thing and one thing only. They were able to adapt to change. And not only they adapted, they did it first, and they did it the best. They recognized the change in their environment, the change in their potential customers, the change in who would make the best employees, the change in the context they were trying to conquer, and they adapted. And their businesses didn't just survive, they evolved, they improved, and it made them leaders. That's what we all want, right? We don't just want to survive, we want to leave a legacy. And yet, over time, most times, we are unable to see the opportunity that lays just before our eyes. Because if there's one true enemy of success, that is fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear of what might happen, and the fear of change. We've seen this in businesses too, and not in small businesses. Remember Kodak? Kodak was one of the biggest companies in the film industry. They were the best. They did things exceptionally well for a long time until they didn't, until the digital era came. And in fact, Kodak invented the digital camera back in 1975, but they did nothing about it. Why? Well, they were afraid of change. They believed they were safe keeping things as they were because it has worked before. Do you know who did understand the change? Fujifilm. Fujifilm understood, made the change, and just like that, you can see here the stock market price of Kodak and Fujifilm. Just like that, the rivalry between a giant and a very small company ended. Fujifilm today is a successful company. Kodak declared bankruptcy back in 2012. There's a lesson to be learned here. Just as evolution doesn't happen overnight, obviously, extinction takes time. I'm sure that Kodak's decision, when it happened back in 1975, wasn't the first opportunity they have to make that change. From that point on, I'm sure they have many signals, many warnings of the outcome. But they were ignored in favor of doing the things the same way because it was comfortable. It's hard to change something that has always worked because we assume it's infallible. That's why even today we see many businesses that are still replicating work models that date back from the Industrial Revolution era. A strict hierarchy, task specialization, long working hours, and of course, the division of labor. We remember that back then, we convinced women to stay at home and men to stay in the factory. We told women they didn't need professional ambition, and we told men they didn't need love or time with their families. Only doing that, we could ensure men would stay those long hours in the factory, dedicate all of their time to work, while women sustain domestic work for free, obviously. But what happens when we sustain a business model that's over a century old? Since women fully join the market, the workforce, they have proven to be just as productive as men, just as talented, and they now make up an increasing majority of university students. And yet, we are still facing barriers every day in our workplace. We are constantly reminded that we need to choose between being businesswomen or mothers. We are the ones that are expected to make coffee for the rest of the team or to water the office plants. And we are the ones who resign when we are sexually harassed in the workplace, while the harasser probably faces zero consequences. Only because some companies still believe their outdated post-industrial revolutionary work model will work forever. But what about men? Do you think men still want to spend their lives working endless hours? Do you think they want to be far from home, disconnected from their families? Most of them don't. They don't want to be away from home. Most of men want to be present. They want to be the partners, the husbands, the fathers they didn't have when they were growing up. They want to be emotionally available, and they want to be involved in their children's upbringing. They want to be connected to their household beyond being a financial provider. In fact, you can see current data shows that a growing number of men aspire to that stable emotional relationship and to build families. They want to get married and they want to have children. They want to be there for their families. But how can they? How can a man build a family if from the moment he enters the workforce, he is told that his only value lies in how much time he spends away from home, outside of home? And what happens to women? How can a woman build the same family if the moment she tries to become a mother, that discredits her professionally? It discredits her professional ambition, questions her commitment, and puts her career at risk. We have created a model in which neither women nor men can fully inhabit the roles they genuinely want. Why? Well, that's why we see that for the first time in history, the human population is shrinking. Not because people don't want families, but because under these conditions, family has become structurally unsustainable. I know this change is scary, and now we see companies, businesses, trying to stop this change. Not only companies and businesses, also countries, governments, politicians, even men. Governments are attempting to push women's rights back. Companies are implementing internal policies that act as barriers, designed to slow women down. And many men are trying to impose a traditional model of relationship that no longer fits the world we live in. I know change is scary, so the instinct is to resist it, to push back, to restore a time when roles were clearly defined and the system felt stable for them. Just like Kodak tried to stop people from using digital cameras, hoping to preserve a dying system. And of course, just like Kodak, governments are losing credibility. Companies are not only losing customers, they are losing good employees. And men are facing what they now call a silence epidemic, the loneliness epidemic. Not because they choose solitude, but because the model of masculinity they were taught has left them emotionally isolated. But what about those who do adapt? What about those who aren't afraid of change and instead use it as an opportunity to grow, to expand, to evolve? Where you can see this data. The countries with highest happiness indices are the ones that embraced equality. In fact, there is a correlation between gender equality and national well-being. Societies with greater equality tend to report a lower level of stress, higher educational attainment, better health outcomes, and more stable economies. Does this happen to companies as well? Well, you can see the data too. The same applies to the private sector. Some of the world's most innovative and resilient companies, especially those who have implemented diversity, equality, and inclusion policies, are outperforming their competitors. You can see, according to a McKinsey report, companies with higher diversity are 35% more likely to perform better than their competitors. Because, of course, they are not just retaining talent, like this study says. They are attracting the very talent those traditional companies are losing. Because the truth is, the most brilliant professional, those women whose voices are dismissed in those traditional companies, and those men who refuse to sacrifice their families in exchange for professional values, are walking away from that rigid corporate model from those traditional companies. They are taking the skills, their value, their talent, their creativity, and their vision to companies that have understood the shift, to companies that have made room for them. We can stop change. We can stop time. And sooner or later, if we don't adapt, we'll end up like so many others before us, like those civilizations we no longer remember, like the Western Roman Empire, or like Kodak. We won't be extinct because we lack potential, intelligence, resources. We will be extinct because we fail to adapt, to evolve in a world that is changing. So to those companies and those organizations that say they don't have time to work on equality, I'm afraid they don't realize how little time they have. And unless they choose to adapt, extinction won't be just a possibility. It will be inevitable. So, are you now ready to talk about equality? Thank you so much. Arigatou gozaimashita.
Thank you very much. Just a question, Cristina, please. Just a question. Okay. Thank you very much for your experience. for us, very interesting, the women role at work is the most important for us. And just this question, how can we impact young workers so that equality becomes normal in the workplace? What kind of ideas you can say about the young workers, no?
Young workers already want to be in new and adaptive working models. I think the responsibility is for those traditional companies that right now are working well, and they think they can keep those models to be working forever, to infinity. Younger workers, younger employees, what they are doing right now is what I said, walking away from those companies. I don't think we are stopping the change, even if some companies are trying to, or even if there are a reminiscence of people that want to stay in that outdated model. I think the change is inevitable, like in every other time has happened. So what I would do if I had the chance to do anything globally is to really start implementing policies to work on equality, to work on diversity, and to attract those talented people to provide an environment where they can flourish. That's the way those younger employees, and not even just younger employees, we can see talent that was right in front of us and we didn't see from other employees too, because we didn't take it into account. Implementing those policies are the right thing, the right way to actually adapt and evolve and to keep our companies alive.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right now is the time for Jaime. Jaime came from Mexico, and we prepare like a talk. We ask some questions, I prepare some questions, and if you can speak about this question, will be interesting for us. Okay? Yes. Question one, please.
Okay.
Okay. The question one. Okay, please.
The first question is, it's very important to think or solution thinking in the past or the present.
Okay.
Okay. Focus on the future. Why dwelling on the past won't prevent future risks. When it comes to preventing risks, it's easy to get caught up of analyzing past mistakes and trying to learn from them. While you understand the past can be valuable, dwelling on it can actually hinder or about find effective solution on the future. The problem with dwelling on the past, focus too much on past events can lead a few problems. Analysis paralysis, for example, spending too much time analyzing past mistakes can prevent us from taking action in the present. Other is limited perspective. Past experience may not be directly applicable to future challenges, and railing too heavily on them can limit our perspective. Other is missed opportunities. Dwelling on the past can cause on the missed opportunities for innovation and growth in the present. A future-focused approach. Instead of dwelling on the past, we should focus on developing a forward-thinking approach to risk prevention. This means identifying potential risks looking ahead to potential future risks and developing strategies to mitigate them, encouraging innovation. Fostering a culture of innovation and experimentation can help us stay ahead of potential risks. Building resilience. Developing resilience and adaptability can help us respond effectively to unexpected challenges. The benefits of a future-focused approach: by focusing on the future and developing a proactive approach the risk prevention, we can stay ahead on the curve, anticipate and prepare for potential risks before they become major issues, drive innovation, encourage creativity and innovation to find new solutions to complex problems, building resiliency, develop key ability to adapt and respond to unexpected challenges. In conclusion, we understand the past can be valued, on it can hinder our ability to find effective solutions for the future. We focusing on the future and developing a proactive approach to risk prevention, we can stay ahead of potential risks and drive innovation and growth. Also, the benefits to changing the future, advances of focus on the future for preventing solution in life and health care, improves anticipation and preparedness by focusing on the future. Potential health risks and problems can be identified and mitigate before they become major issues. Foster innovation and creativity. A forward-thinking approach can lead to the creation of new solutions and technologies to improve health and well-being. Enhance resilience and adaptability. By preparing for the potential challenge and change, the ability to respond effectively to unexpected solutions can be developed. Reduces costs and improves efficiency. Prevention and anticipation can help reduce costs associated with triaging diseases and health problems. Improves quality to life. By focusing on prevention and health promotion, quality of life and overall well-being can be improved. It's very important also prevent mental health damage action on the future and today. Mental health is essential for overall well-being. Here are some actions you can take to prevent mental health damage in the future and some suggestions to start implementing today. Actions for the future. Practice self-awareness. Learn to recognize your emotions and try to manage them effectively. Development coping skills. Learn stress and anxious management techniques to face challenges in a healthy way. Foster healthy relationships. Surround yourself with people who support and love you. Prioritize self-care. Ensure you get enough sleep, eat healthy, and exercise regularly. Seek professional help. Do not hesitate to seek help from a mental health professional if you need additional support. Action for today. Take a moment to breathe. Take a few minutes to break daily and relax. Do something you enjoy. Engage in an activity that makes you happy and allows you to express yourself. Connect with someone. Call a friend or family member to chat Remember to chat and connect with them. Set healthy boundaries. Learn to say no and set boundaries to project your time and energy. Practice gratitude. Reflect on the things you are grateful for in your life. Remember that mental health is a continuous process and it is essential to take steps to protect and promote in your daily life. This is my point of view.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, we have some question more. We have some question more. If you want to explain your point of view, will be interesting for us. For example, we asked about the productivity, no? The productivity with workers, the problem with the occupational health and safety and the productivity always is a problem, no? The people say if we have too much health and safety, maybe we lose productivity. What is your opinion about it?
My opinion is that the prevention is a big element to improve the quality in the production and in the work. In this moment, we are take new knowledge that, for example, the sensor in this moment there are contribute to the future, to the prevention, is very important implement in the factories for the quality or and the prevention.
Thank you. And the next one more, please. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, before. Okay, it's okay. Thank you. Thank you very much for all.
Gracias.
Well, our session is closed. Thank you very much. See you again.